What's up, everybody? Welcome to the newest episode of The Debate Mates. I'm Matthew Swanberg, and today I'm honored to be joined by the OG debate mate, Nathan Poplin.
What's up, guys?
And the world soccer champion.
That's right. 2-1.
Coach Z.
Thank you.
Coach Champion Z.
Coach Champion Z. Thank you.
So you might be wondering, what sort of big event could happen that could bring these three debate mates together? It's been a while since we've done an episode with this many people. And it's not the 4-year anniversary, although we did film our last anniversary in this very room.
Yeah.
There's not been a Kevin Durant trade yet. Matter of fact, he said he doesn't want to get traded anymore. So what could be happening? Well, I'll tell you what could be happening. There comes a time every summer, every preseason, where we need to discuss and rank who the 25 best players in the NBA are. And we needed the star power of Coach Z to help us make these rankings perfect. So before we get to our rankings, make sure you like, subscribe, comment on the video, share it with your friends and family, because this is going to be a great one, a controversial one, I think. And so you're going to want to, a lot of people are going to want to see this. A lot of people are going to want to see these rankings. I can feel it already. So
I'm excited.
Let's get right to it. We're going to go 25 through 20, then 19 through 16, 15, and etc., so forth and so on. Coach Z, since you're the newly crowned champion, would you like to go 25 through 21 to start us off?
Yeah. I just want to caveat to the audience that I'll preface it by it's pretty analytical with me. I did an eye test earlier today, and the names that showed up on top 25 probably didn't belong there. So I really looked into some stats. I always look at, for the ones that watch it, a fantasy perspective. So who's helping your team without hurting them so much that affects the stats. And then there's a metric called global rankings. I'm not sure if you guys are available. Hoop House does global rankings. Love it. It takes the points you scored, your assists and your rebounds. It subtracts your turnovers and your shot efficiency. But it includes how many minutes you play, how many games you played, and the competition you play against. So are those stats valuable instead of just looking at stats in a vacuum?
Yeah, that's one thing I want to cut in real quick. Yeah. I think that's what's going to make this video so interesting. Is like you said, you look at this very analytically.
Mm-hmm.
Nathan, you're more eye
They
test.
call it the gut check. The gut check.
Yeah.
The gut test. You just look at it.
Nathan just looks at a player and decides.
I do know stats. I'm not prepared when it comes to stats as you guys are. But one thing I do help with ordering is watching.
My point is, I feel like all three of us sort of rank our players in different ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the best way to get a true ranking was to take all of our rankings and average it out.
Right.
And then you would find out the true overall ranking of who is the top 25. But all right, so to get started, 25, I got Siakam. 24, my fantasy boy, so underrated, DeJounte Murray. Maybe he's on your list, maybe he's not. I put Brandon Ingram in there. I think he had an excellent season last year, especially taking them to the playoffs. Chris Paul, I didn't want to include in the list, but there's a metric of him just winning. And to finish number one overall, I think he has a lot to do with how that team ran in their success. And then one that I was very on the fence with, but the stats don't lie, the limited games that he was playing, was Paul George at 21.
Okay, so I have a sort of similar 25 to 21.
Which ones are the same?
I got Pascal Siakam at 25.
That's right.
One of Coach's favorite players.
Siakam. I just like the way you say his name.
24, salt, pepper, a little bit of Lowry.
Lowry, just a little bit.
24, I got DeMar DeRozan, who had a bit of a career renaissance in Chicago this past year. 23, I got Rudy Gobert, the Stifle Tower. I kind of feel badly about having him this low. I'm pretty high on him, but he falls in at 23. 22, I don't know if this name shows up on any other rankings. I got Drew Holiday. Okay. And 21, I got Brandon Ingram.
My go, guys?
Yeah.
All right, so 25, I have DeMar DeRozan. Okay. My 24 is Brandon Ingram. 23, I have Jaylen Brown. As a resident Celtics fan, he's earned his spot in this top 25. 22, I have Karl Anthony Towns. 21, I have Zach LaVine, which might be lower than some people.
Zach, that's higher than I have Zach LaVine.
Oh. Yeah. I didn't include him on my list.
And the other funny thing is you're the resident Celtics fan, but I think you have Jaylen Brown the lowest out of any of us.
Mm-hmm.
So anybody want to point out any differences they got here? Anybody need some defense on some rankings?
I didn't include Drew Holiday, but honestly, he was on my list that was just left out. So in my mind, if it's 5 places below or above what my ranking is, you can make an argument one or the other. For Cat, though, I think we'll find out later in this video, I did have him ranked pretty high. He's a fantasy stud. If he plays most of his games, he will help you in every way and hurt you in very few. So I think he's definitely an asset.
I'll defend my Drew Holiday pick real quick because I think I'm the only one that has him on my top 25.
Yeah, but I'm not mad at it.
I feel like when I was ranking a lot of these players, same thing with Rudy Gobert. If you are the best in the league at something and something that's really valuable, like he is head and shoulders Rudy Gobert above everybody else as far as interior defense goes. And I feel similarly about Drew Holiday. I think he's the best perimeter defender in the league, and then what he gives you on offense is almost all-star level production as well. So I had to include him in my top 25. And
my question for you is Marcus Smart on your list then?
Marcus Smart is not on my list because
even though he was the best defender of last year.
I think
yeah, hey audience, I just want to make it clear all throughout the playoffs, he made sure to let me know who the real the best defensive player of the year was. It was not Marcus Smart.
It was the game where Drew Holiday got like a block on Marcus Smart.
Yeah,
I think it was game 4 or something, and I texted Nate and I said the real defensive player of the year just got that stop because
it's not the only time you said it to me. He made sure to keep saying it too.
I mean. You can listen to the players talk about him. Everybody basically says Drew Holiday is the best defender in the league. Every player in the league that plays a perimeter position just loves Drew Holiday.
You should have brought some of them quotes, man.
Yeah.
And now we'll have testimony from Kevin Durant. Please come in.
He just walking in his head now.
Alan Iverson, come on in.
Artificial intelligence.
So there's our 25 through 21. And of course, feel free to comment and make fun of us, call us stupid, anything you want to say when it comes to our rankings. 20 through 16. Nathan, you want to get us started here?
Oh, yes. 20, this is going to be the controversial pick on my list. 20, I have Kyrie Irving.
We're just one mind. We're just a hive mind. We're just hive mind.
19, I have James Harden. 18, I have CP3, a bit higher on my list than Z over here. 17, I have a player I really like, but people say I'm a little too high on, is Donovan Mitchell. And 17,
hive mind.
And yeah, that's 16. I have Trae Young.
Okay.
Which I think is very respectable.
My 20 through 16. I got Jaylen Brown at 20.
Ooh, hive mind.
Hey, yo, yes, sir.
I got Chris Middleton at number 19. I'm not a Bucks fan, but I love these Milwaukee Bucks players.
Yeah.
18, I got Chris Paul. I think that's the same as you have me.
Yeah.
17, I got Damian Lillard. Would be higher if he played a full season and we got to see what he's capable of again. 16, I got James Harden.
Okay. Number 20, I got Kyrie, so that's the hive mind. Same thing with Nate Dogg. Jaylen Brown is my number 19, so in the range that all of us kind of had him at. My initial poll, I had him number 2 overall based off of the finals, but then I had to really look at the stats and think, okay, that's not right. 18, Donovan Mitchell. I agree with you. 17 is Harden, although he was off my ranking completely. Then I really looked at the stats like, okay, a poor man's James Harden is still one of the best players in the league. And then I have our MIP, Ja Morant, and his playoff surge and regular season at number 16.
It's a little low, Z. Wow.
It's just too young.
So I think this is one I definitely do have to defend.
Okay.
Is me leaving Donovan Mitchell completely off.
Yeah, you need to defend that, man. I need to hear some actual reason why you thought that was appropriate.
Okay. Donovan Mitchell is a cone on defense. He's a traffic cone on defense.
So is James Harden.
But James Harden makes his teammates better. He gets a lot of assists. He's still one of the best playmakers in the league. And throughout the regular season, he still showed that burst where he can still get to the line occasionally. He can still just manufacture points. Even though in the playoffs he looked a little off at times. And I'm expecting a bounce back season for James Harden. But for Donovan Mitchell, I just feel like his offense is stagnant. Basically, since he's come in as a rookie, his offense has not really improved. His efficiency is still not great for a scorer of his volume, and his defense has gotten worse. And players behind him, whether it be Luka, guys who were drafted after him, Trae Young, Ja Morant, Devin Booker, guys we used to all have behind him, have all added things to their game. They've gotten better on defense. They've gotten more efficient. Their teams have taken the next step. Donovan Mitchell's team hasn't. They've gotten worse.
Yep.
They completely flame out every single year, regular season and playoffs. His defense has gotten worse. His offense has not gotten much better. And players behind him have gotten better. That's my argument for why I have to leave him off the list.
Okay.
I mean, that's a fair argument, but like when I see people on your list, like I'm still taking Donovan Mitchell over Chris Middleton. Sorry. Like if I'm being completely honest, I still think Donovan Mitchell can bring more to a team than Rudy Gobert or Drew Holiday.
I completely disagree about Rudy Gobert.
Y'all are really high on Rudy Gobert.
Rudy Gobert is super high on my list.
And with in regards to Chris Middleton, I think the Bucks won the championship if they had Chris Middleton this year.
I
They were
agree.
the best team
Well-
in the NBA. They're the most complete team in the NBA. I know it hurts for you to admit this, Chris.
No,
as a
but I
Warriors
think that
fan.
I know they would have advanced. They would have. I believe they would have went to the finals if they had Middleton because Giannis
Right.
is doing it all by himself, and they went to Game 7 without Middleton. So I agree.
So, and when I rank players, a lot of what I do is I think, well, what would this team be if you took him off? What would the Bucks be if you took Chris Middleton off? Well, we saw they're a second round exit. You
Yeah.
put Chris Middleton on, they probably win the championship. So that's why I value him more over someone like Donovan Mitchell.
And I would reconcile, I guess, both of your points. Like, one, what you look for in a player, what happens when you take them off is player efficiency rankings.
Right.
That's what the PER is, and that is the global rankings. And you're right. In a fantasy perspective, they have Donovan Mitchell at 30. On a player efficiency record, they have him at 30. So he would be off of our 25 list. I think with Rudy Gobert gone, you're the face of the franchise, and I just couldn't find the player, whether it be availability or injury, to replace him. My list doesn't have Kawhi Leonard. He probably would have won them there instead of Mitchell, but he didn't play last season.
Right.
So the other point about Middleton, he's not on those lists either in the top 30. So that's why I have my Mitchell, but
Okay.
you're not wrong to be out of the top 25.
Have you given us? You've given us your 20 through 16 already.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you guys had the hive mind.
Hi,
Kyrie
Mark.
Irving,
Yep.
So-
We all had CP3 within 5
right?
ranks of each other.
I think Kyrie's a little bit higher on my list.
Yeah,
You
he's
guys have him?
super high on your list.
So whether it be from
Ours.
you or Coach Lee, I want to hear a little reasoning as why you have Kyrie.
I
so
mean,
low.
Kyrie Irving at the end of the day is not dependable and is not accountable. And as we saw in their first round sweep, he also, I think he had one game where he dropped 38. They still lost. Other than that, he's become super inconsistent when he actually plays. There's games he can still go out there and look like prime Kyrie Irving to be, but there are also games where he can go out and shoot 1 for 13 and just be running up the floor because he's not very beneficial when it comes to defense. I mean, he's 6'1". I mean, he's never been a superstar on the defensive side of the ball, and so it's like almost like sometimes when I've seen James Harden play, when you're shooting up and you're missing, like going 1 for 13 and then doing nothing on the defensive side of the ball, it's like, why are you even out there? And I just think Kyrie's getting older, and he's probably going to find another thing this season, another personal issue that keeps him out 40 games.
Yep.
You know, so I just cannot trust Kyrie Irving
Yeah.
at this current moment in time. I'm sorry.
Those are all fair points. Coach Lee, is that same reason you had?
Yeah, I just want to add that Kyrie, like, I don't think he's getting older. I think he's an absolute gem. I think if you look at his stats of when he plays, they are phenomenal, and it's generational talent. He has no weakness besides turnovers, but if you look at how many times he has the ball, the turnovers are justified. His total shooting efficiency is on par. Everything else is above average or superb. So he is a gem. But when you have all these reasons why you don't play, the number one ability is availability.
Right.
So I was thinking about not keeping on the list, but he played 29 games, and he's a gem. If he had played half the season, he would have easily been in the top 5. If he played the whole season, top 10. If he played the whole season, he'd be like my 5 to 7.
That's fair. Yeah. I have him a little bit higher. I guess I don't know. Some of my picks, I'm going to be honest, contradict one another because, like, I say the best ability is availability. That's my reason for leaving someone like Anthony Davis off.
Yeah.
But then I put Kyrie Irving higher than maybe he should be.
He has the longevity, though.
Right.
He does have, like, so many great seasons together. I think it's the COVID year between a little bit of the injury and now with the vaccine that he's really missed a bunch of games. But for the most part, when he's healthy and ready to go, he goes.
Right. And I have a quick question for you guys because we all have James Harden around the 16 to 20 range.
Yeah.
Next season, I said I think he's going to have a bounce back season. He knows this is probably his last chance to win a championship.
Okay.
Is there any chance we do this video next summer and we have him back in our top 10?
That's hard. Don't get me wrong. I think he's in a good situation. I kind of like the situation
Best
over
shape
there
of
in
his life,
Philly.
too.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
man's a shapeshifter. We know that. Man looks good currently. Do I ever think we'll see Harden back in the top 10? I don't think so, personally.
Yeah, I think the NBA has really shifted its policy and procedures that have negatively affected his game. One thing he always got away with was drawing fouls, and he got to the line a lot. That has
Right.
decreased in the last few years, so he's not getting those extra 6 to 8 points with free throws. Also, just his shooting numbers, unless he's in the gym, just really practicing on shooting, getting into good shape. So many stories out there about not being in great shape, not putting in the work in the summer, especially when you're getting older, to play at a high level. I don't think with the change of policy and procedures that he's in the top 10.
Okay, that's fair. Now we'll go 15 through 11. I'll start us
Ooh.
off on this one.
Yeah,
15, I got Devin Booker. 14, Trae Young.
hide mine.
13, I got John Morant. 12. Now these next two are going to be a little controversial. 12, I have Paul George, and 11, I do have Kyrie Irving.
Ooh.
I don't think Paul George is controversial at all.
No, he's.
And you're about to see why.
Do you want to go next?
Yeah, I'll go next. 15, this one seems like I put Damian Lillard. I'm still a believer in Damian Lillard and what he could do. You had him at 17. You didn't have him on your list at all, which I kind of understand. Last season, I think to me personally, as of right now, it's a fluke. So I think Damian Lillard will be right back in and drop 28 points a night. And they got a good little something brewing over there in Portland with Jeremy Grant and Shaedon Sharpe. So.
Can I cut in real quick?
Yeah.
One weird thing about his season last year, I know you say it's like an aberration, but he also said he's been dealing with that same hive mind. Did you see that? But he says he's been dealing with that ab injury his entire career, which is so weird that it would just only start to really affect him last year. I'm not saying he's lying about it or anything like that. It's just an odd coincidence that he's been dealing with.
It's crazy to think he's been doing that. He's basically not been 100% his entire career. He's been dropping numbers and buckets like this.
Well, remember when everyone said Steph Curry was destroying the league and he needed glasses? Remember when he said he didn't have 20/20 vision and he started playing with contact lenses a couple years ago? That's like the Damian Lillard situation. But continue, sorry.
At 14, I have Devin Booker, so around the same spot as y'all. 13, I have Anthony Davis.
AD. High mind.
At 13, who you don't have on your list at all, but I can understand, I think, a little bit of why you don't have him on your list. 12 is Paul George, like you, my mans. And then 11, I have Ja Morant.
Okay. For me, I got Booker at 15. One of the, I think, hive mind was Swanee. I think one of the reasons it's not higher because some of the rankings argue that he would be like second, third team, best player in the league, but his efficiency with his 20 shots isn't so great. I have DeMar DeRozan at 14. The biggest knock is the 3-point, but we can get into that if we need to. AD, I think, is a great talent. Phenomenal player. The reason is his availability. If he had been available for more games, I would have him higher. I have Jimmy Big Buckets Butler at 12. Playoffs have definitely increased him in my ranking. And then I rank very few guys on here of any defensive capability. I think honestly, like every time we look at these, I'm looking at these stats. You got points, you got boards, you got assists, steals, and some blocks. Very rarely do we look at the impact defensively. I have Gobert at 11 overall, mainly because, like you stated earlier, he's one of the best in the league, interior defender. And reading some articles about his former coaches and his mindset on it, he doesn't just guard a center or forward. He is commanding the entire defense for their efficiency. So Gobert at 11.
I wish I had the courage to put Rudy Gobert at 11 because I think I like where you put him a lot, actually.
It's tough in an offensive-centric league. It's very difficult to put a guy up there because there's certain stats we think have more value than others, but it's a two-way game, and you need defense just as much as you need offense, and that's why when you said Drew Holiday, I understand that.
Well, I think that's why most people rate him a little bit low, and y'all are a lot higher on him, but I think he's so limited in his offensive capabilities that maybe that's why he's a little bit lower than 11, or maybe he's closer to 23 like Matt has.
Yeah. And I say from a fantasy perspective, he never really shows up on those top lists because his free throw percentage. Mm-hmm. So he can really kill you unless you make that concerted effort. Say, hey, I'm not going to free throw any week in fantasy. Like I'll have my team because he's going to give me blocks, he's going to give me boards, he's going to give me field goal percentage. So many other things that he does super well at, but he just has that.
Oh my God, yeah, he commands your presence. He commands presence on the floor. He commands that interior defense.
And I think we're going to see him
other players
be a lot better this year with the Timberwolves.
I'm very interested to see that. I think we're all assuming Cat is going to end up playing the 4. I mean, he kind of plays. He plays like he could play. He's always been like, he could be a nice 4. Right. He wanted to be in and Gobert at the 5. That's got to be some nice Twin Towers action. Well, not as much defensively on that side from Cat, but like the original Twin Towers. But it'll still be fun to watch.
But and not to bring up that Donovan Mitchell. I think that was a big point of contest was that Donovan Mitchell did not utilize Rudy Gobert as much as he should or much as he could have been utilized to make the team overall better. Very unselfish, a lot of shot selection issues that definitely now more and more of understanding why he's not in the top 25. Am I taking out Donovan Mitchell? Am I crossing him off? Am I replacing him?
I just can't do it in my heart to heart.
Someone that doesn't play a whole season.
I used to be a really big Donovan Mitchell fan, but now I've kind of soured on him, and I've become more of a Rudy.
That's
Gobert
fine. We
backer,
all have those players. Man.
Now I feel like this whole video so far, I've been defending players I've left off, and I'm going to do it one more time here with Anthony Davis.
Yeah, come on, because we both had him at the exact same spot too in the range. And let's just get this straight out on video for the fans. Anthony, do you think Anthony Davis, when healthy, when actually playing more than 40 games, top 10 talent? Because I sure do. I know Zeke
when healthy, when playing more than 40
is a top 10 talent in this league, no question. You just don't think he will be, and he won't be available. You think he's too fragile.
Do you think unicorns can fly?
Of course they can.
I guess we'll never see in the real world, will we? That's kind of my answer to this question. I can't assume that he will be because I can't assume that he'll ever accomplish that again in his career. He's shown over the past couple of seasons the bubble was the aberration, but as we've seen in the bubble, a lot of things in that bubble, for lack of a better word, were an aberration. Whether it be Jamal Murray going absolutely crazy, Donovan Mitchell going crazy in the playoffs, the Lakers winning a championship that may not have been one in a different setting.
Yeah.
I just think Anthony Davis, but before I go to that, in this room when we did the debate mates anniversary, I remember you asked a question, and it was, who do you think will score more points in the finals tonight? Anthony Davis or LeBron? It was when they were playing the Heat.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, who do you think will score the most points? And Nate said, I think it'll be LeBron James or Anthony Davis. And he said, all right, nice. Pick the two top scorers on the team. That's good. But back to my
what's wrong with that?
It's a Vegas bet. Yep.
He just cannot stay healthy. When he was healthy this year, he did not look great. His three-point shot has somehow completely left him to the point where it's a liability to have him out there shooting threes. His free throw shooting has gotten a lot worse, and he's just not. He's just not as good as he.
So you think he's a shell of his former self, so to speak?
I know he is. I can watch him play out there, and it's not the same Anthony Davis that we watched when he was with the Lakers at the beginning of the 2019-2020 season, when he was with the Pelicans. Not as agile. He's super fragile. That was kind of a bar. But yeah, he gets like elbowed and he falls down and he hurts himself. He's Anthony Davis for a reason. And
well, hear me out. If you're going to call for James Harden to have a nice comeback season, this is who I'm picking for my comeback season.
That's fine, but that doesn't affect. I didn't put James Harden at 16 because I.
Well, I know that, but you just mentioned it earlier that you think James Harden has a nice comeback resurgence season. Anthony Davis is my James Harden. I think he comes back almost full force this season.
We'll see.
I mean, it is. We'll see. I mean, but I love Anthony Davis, and I guess I'm very hopeful that he will come back and show signs of what I know he can do.
Yeah, well, that's the irritating thing with Anthony Davis is when he's healthy, there's no reason he shouldn't be a top 5 talent in the NBA. I think the first top 25 video we ever did, I had him 5th, and I said he was better than Steph Curry because their offense was sort of similar in that they both scored a similar amount of points, but his defense was just so much better because he was arguably the best defender in the NBA.
And I thought I had him as Defensive Player of the Year when he joined the Lakers initially. That was like one of my picks.
I think we might have had him as MVP. One of those
MVP too, yeah.
So maybe I wouldn't have him completely off my list if the expectations weren't so high, because he hasn't reached them for 3 straight years now. He's just been a complete disappointment, I think. And the Lakers general managers, they would probably agree with me. And Lakers fans as well. I'm sure Stretch wouldn't have him on his top 25.
That's tough. I mean, the metrics when he does play is in the top 10 in the league.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing is when he plays.
Right.
Even though he's kind of having a down, inefficient year. Yeah, I'm curious. Yeah. I'm curious if you just had all these players in a pool, you had the GMs be able to do a snake draft to redesign the whole NBA. Where would he go? You know, are you taking DeRozan, you taking Siakam and Ingram before maybe?
And unfortunately, yeah, availability does play a big part. I mean, like, there's no point in having a superstar if he's not going to be on the floor. So,
yeah,
and it comes down to that, simple as that.
All right, are we ready to move into our top 10?
Top 10. This is where it gets juicy, fellas. Let's go.
We'll go 10 through 6, and then when we get to 5, like, you can do 5, I'll do 5, he'll do 5.
Okay.
Same with 4, 3, 2.
Perfect.
All right. Who would like to get us started?
I think Z, because I started off.
Okay, yeah. All right, number 10, I have Tatum. He would have been higher if it had not been for the finals performance. I really thought in the top 10 people that I'm talking that I have on my list, they would have done better in a hypothetical finals. But then I guess credit to him because him and his team made it. So Number 9, I have Cat. Everything I said about Anthony Davis is Cat, and he's available this year. His metrics are through the roof, especially for that position. I had a rule I told these guys, which is why Damian Lillard wasn't on mine, because if you didn't make the playoffs, I didn't feel like you were a top 25 player. Because if you are in the top 25 and you need to make the top 10 seeds to even get a play-in game, and you can't do that, then there's other players out there that are better. But there are some exceptions, AD being one of them, and now LeBron is the other at number 8.
I mine.
Yeah, hide mine.
But I like that. I didn't have Cat as high, but I really like because I really like Cat.
Yeah.
I've always liked Kawhi.
He can be unstoppable at times offensively. I have baby Steph Curry, Trae Young at number 7. Looking at global rankings with the player efficiency I mentioned, he qualified for first team All NBA when you look at those metrics. He made third team All NBA because of the 100 votes of the media, the sports writers, and stuff like that. But from an efficiency standpoint, he's top notch. And then I have my man, Kevin Durant, number 6.
A little low for Matthew.
Only because of that Boston Celtics series. He would have been in my top 5, but I just felt that was like a huge letdown. If you're top 5 in the NBA, you don't get swept.
I think that series.
Did he get swept?
Yes.
Oh yeah. You don't get swept.
him.
You just don't get swept.
I think that series.
He went down like.
I think that series showed more of a weakness in Steve Nash's ability to coach and game plan than Kevin Durant's game.
I think it shows that not all NBA players have a classic coach.
Yeah, and I think too that I don't. Yeah.
All right, on to mine 10 through 6. Number 10, I got Jimmy Butler. Number 9, I got Jason Tatum. Number 8, we got LeBron.
I'm sorry, LeBron 8's a little too low for me, guys.
Number 7, I got Nate's favorite player, Joel Embiid.
I'm my favorite. He's out there. I do love me some Joel.
It's
Embiid.
odd that you hate the 76ers.
But I love Joel Embiid. The one team I hate is the board. You would think it'd be the Lakers, but it's the 76ers.
And then
Joel Embiid is a stud, man.
At number 6, and I really had to wrestle with this one.
Ooh.
Because when healthy, I think he might be the best player in the entire NBA. Just the way he can shut anybody's water off defensively and then go mid-range you to death. On 2, 3, 4, 5 straight possessions at the exact same place, the elbow, the free throw line, every single time. That's Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard, he's just so good. He's just so good at basketball. That's really all I can say about him. So that's my 10 through 6 right there.
All right, so my 10 through 6, I think the very similar to Matt's number 10. I also have Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Buckets Butler definitely rose in stocks after seeing his playoffs this year.
Can I say one thing about Jimmy Butler real quick though?
Yeah.
I feel like he is not a top 10 player. There just aren't any good enough players behind him to put above him.
I mean, you could say that. I just think he
not
played. I think he earned. He played his heart up to get a top 10 spot.
And I think his numbers in the postseason, which I have here, 27, 7, and 5.
Yep.
51%, 34%, 84% shooting splits. Like, if you're a player that's not going to play as hard as they can in the regular season and then turned on in the postseason,
That's when it matters.
you got to get numbers that are a little bit better than that.
Maybe. I think my big knock, because I didn't have him as high as you guys, is his 3-point ability.
Right.
And like we talk about the policy and procedures of the NBA shifting, right? The NBA is evolving, and if you're playing that position, you have to have a 3 in your arsenal. And that Boston Celtics series showed me. They said, take it. And that's why the first Golden State game, they said the same thing. Take it. And Golden State was just shooting lights out because they're used to guarding Butler. Let him have that outside range shot. He's not going to.
Him, and when I look at DeRozan too, their 3-point shots are what holds them back. Like I always said, DeRozan's a long 2 kind of player.
Yep.
Long range 2.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. I looked at like some of the analytics. You can make 33% of trade to have the same efficiency as making 55% on 2-pointers. So it's like if you're gonna do it, you better do Rudy Gobert stats, or you better be above the LeBron James. You have to be above 50% if you're gonna do all those 2s, or you have to have a 3 in your game. And like you said, those are 2 players, DeMar and Butler, that just don't have it. So
and then number 9, my boy, my superstar, Jason Tatum.
Jason Tatum.
Like despite the final performance, what I will promise the audience is when Jason Tatum makes it to the final, that makes it back to the finals, that performance does not happen again. I'm sorry. Number 8, I have Kawhi Leonard, who you put at what, 6?
I put 6. Yep.
I can't have Kawhi love LeBron James, and after this season, I think Kawhi comes back. He's one of those players that, like, even after his injury, I think he comes back more or less the same. That's probably who I'm most confident in coming back off their injury, more or less the same. Probably a bit more than Anthony Davis. Number 7, Joel Embiid. Yes, sir. Usually I will fight tooth and nail to put him above Jokic, but I think Jokic, I have to admit, is a bit better than Embiid. I will always talk about Embiid's defensive stats in comparison to Jokic, but I mean, Jokic is a special kind of center. I mean, that man is something else.
Yep.
And what else? Number 6, I have Nikola Jokic, just above Joel Embiid. I know he's not in my top 5. I'm sorry, guys. I'm gonna say it.
Back
I think that's the worst ranking out of any of them.
Yeah,
Really,
that is
Nikola Jokic at 6 is the worst.
the worst. I think that's the worst ranking of all time in the history of
Well,
rankings.
at least let me
from
at least let me tell you
from
who my
every
top
test.
5
I
is.
think you can make a.
I mean,
I don't even care.
We're doing top 5 of all time. That's like Jordan and then like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Bill Russell. That's why Jokic is off this list. We're talking about current NBA players.
I'm talking about current NBA
yeah,
players.
then you messed up here.
Yeah, that's big.
How?
Well, I'll get to. I'll explain how when I get.
Well,
to
when
it
we
in
talk
my
about the top 5, you tell me who above in that top 5 you're taking Jokic over.
And I will tell you because I have him above.
Yeah,
a couple of
Sorry, I'm not as high on Jokic. Then he shouldn't have won the second MVP in my opinion. You know, it is what it is.
So, anyways, now we got our 5 through number 1. I'm looking to see if there are any glaring differences in any of our 10 through 6s that need to be addressed, and I don't see any that aren't going to be addressed moving forward already because of how we have our top 5. Coach Z, who do you have number 5? Who is the 5th best player in the NBA?
5th best player in the NBA, I have Luka. And I know.
Oh, good. Yeah, sorry.
No, you go, Z.
Oh no! I mean, we can hear yours too, but
My 5th best player is Steph Curry.
My 5th best player is the King, LeBron James.
okay. Well, I have Luka at 5. He has the potential to be number 1.
Okay.
And why I think that is the biggest knock to his game, I thought, was fitness. And in the fourth quarter, he looked very fatigued. His defense needs improvement, but looking at summer basketball and his like world champions, he looks like a different version of himself. He looks like he's finally hit that switch where it's not just the talent, but it's all the preparation you needed to be the world's best and to be able to play the entire game as the world's best. He has the potential, but these rankings are based off of last season, a little bit going into this season, so that's why I have him at 5. He single-handedly carried his team. His playoff metrics are great. Besides maybe some of the field goal percentage and his free throw percentage is being knocked. Overall, he's an awesome talent. Have him at 5.
All right. For me, having Steph Curry at 5, that might be controversial because he just is coming off the championship and the what did he win? The Magic Johnson Western Conference Finals MVP award.
That's right. Living legend.
I don't necessarily think this isn't a knock on Steph Curry. This is just I think there are 4 players that are better than him that are really, really, really good at basketball. They're like world-class top 4 talents. My top 4, the only question was what order are they in. I knew from the second we decided to make this video who my top 4 was going to be.
Yep.
And I knew Steph Curry wasn't going to be.
Ours are slightly different, but I said the exact same thing.
Yeah,
I know who my 4 were.
I mean, the 3-point percentage took a bit of a dip this year. No one really cares.
But you remember, you only need to make 33% of 3-pointers to be just as efficient as Jimmy
38% from 3. Free throw percentage. What happened to him in the playoffs? 83%.
Yeah, but 93%.
You can't say the same thing about Jaylen Brown.
But yeah, I mean the numbers they jump off the page. Playoffs and regular season. We all saw what he did in the finals.
I mean, greatest shooter
incredible.
to ever live, right?
Yeah, and like my argument before, if you're the best in the league at something, you got to be one of the best players in the league, and he's the best shooter by far.
Yep.
At least from 3. Maybe when you factor in mid-range, a different 7-footer comes into the question. But yeah, Steph Curry, I have him at number 5, and you had LeBron.
I had LeBron because no matter how old LeBron gets, it seems like his stats don't vary very much. It seems like he's the same LeBron James I saw play back in 2015, 2016 in the second run of the Cavs. I mean, of course, we're dealing with a little bit more injury. We've seen a little bit more. His body is starting to kind of catch up with him. But this man spends $1 million each year on taking care of his body.
That's been the low ball, I think.
And probably more. I think it was $1 million. I saw maybe it's a rough estimate, like a rough outline. But still, I mean, like you can tell it's working to an extent because yes, his body's catching up with him, but probably a lot slower than it should be setting in.
Right.
And I mean, he's still in incredible shape at what? He's 38 now?
He averaged 38 and 6, 52, 36, 76 shooting splits. And he scored 34 points 30 different times this season.
Yep.
Including some 50-plus point games.
And they said he probably would have the scoring title this year if he played in some meaningless games, but they were knocked out of the playoffs if he did it. So
which is understandable. Yeah. So,
Yeah, and so like I had Luca, Steph, LeBron relatively near, and then my tiebreaker for them was okay, who made it to the playoffs?
Right.
Luca and Curry are above LeBron. LeBron couldn't take your team to be a top 10 team in the West, like so you're not going to be in my top 5. And then Luca versus Curry, they match up against each other, the team. So
I mean, I completely respect all that, but just me personally, it didn't sit right leaving LeBron James, even what he's still doing at 37, 38 years old, out of my top 5.
That's
Still
fair.
the king, man. Still.
I feel like it was difficult to rank these guys because everyone I have 1 through 8. If you asked 100 different people, I'm sure one of them would say at least each of these 8 people would get mentioned as the best player in the NBA.
Okay. Except for Kawhi Leonard.
I forgot that I have Kawhi Leonard. With the exception of Kawhi Leonard, every one of these guys could be called the best player in the NBA. So on to number 4.
Okay. We got a snake draft?
I'll start us off because mine is a bit controversial, and I don't like that I did this.
I don't like that you did it either.
I don't like that I have them at 4, but again, I just think there are 3 players better than them.
Okay.
I have at number 4 Giannis Antetokounmpo.
That's offensive to me, man. I'm just kidding.
Nate?
All right, my number 4, I have Luka Doncic.
And I have Curry.
So I feel like it's hard for me to defend myself on this one without revealing who my top 3 are. Because, again, my reasoning isn't to knock on Giannis's game, although he does need to get more efficient from 3 and from the line.
Yep.
It's just the other 3 players I think are better.
I mean, y'all ganged up on me on Jokic, but like this is probably the one on your list that I'm having the hardest time with. But like, he's still in the top 5 at least. Now, if you would not include him in the top 5, I think I would have went ballistic.
I couldn't have done that.
Yeah, if you put him out of your top 5, I would have went ballistic on him because that man is a freak of nature and is definitely one of the top. No matter where you're going to put him in the order, he's a top 5 player regardless in this league at this current moment in time. Probably will be for the next 3 years.
Yeah, I think there was a big argument about him being the MVP this past season. I think the playoffs, it being a regular season award, really showed me like how he took Boston to 7 games without Middleton, and then when he won his championship, how he carried that franchise to their championship. So
well, I thought he should have won MVP, I think, this year. But like, congrats to Jokic. I'm not going to knock that.
30, 12, and 6, 32, 14, and 7 in the playoffs. 55% from the field. Those are insane numbers.
And I thought about like that hypothetical I proposed earlier. If we're GMs in a room and you have first overall pick, who you going? I think it's Giannis.
I'm going Giannis.
I think it's Giannis, even though like my list doesn't really reflect that either. But it is Giannis. Like he 2-way player, defensively, offensively. I mean,
and I think he's probably already on the Mount Rushmore of power forwards all time in league history.
Yeah,
he's got an argument for it.
Yeah, but the way he plays too doesn't even seem like a power forward, you know, in terms of his dribbling ability, his ability to distribute. So,
Are we ready for number 3?
I mean, yeah, I'm ready when y'all are.
You get started this Sunday? You haven't gone through
number 3, I have Stephen Curry, NBA champion.
There we go.
I have 2-time NBA MVP Nikola Jokic.
Nice. I have Embiid.
Nice. I like that. I like these.
Number 3, Embiid.
Jokic has an argument to be the best player in the world, I think. The numbers, especially for an analytical guy like you, because he basically he's number 1 in basically every advanced stat that's ever been invented. VORP, which I didn't know was real. He's got the highest player efficiency rating of all time this last season. He, like I said earlier, I judge a player a lot based on how a team would do without him. And without him, especially this year, the Nuggets, I think, are a lottery team. They were absolutely terrible with him. I was trying to find the numbers on who he played the majority of his minutes with this season. And although I couldn't find the exact player, I know the combination was something like Monte Morris, Aaron Gordon. I think Bones Highland shared a lot of minutes with him, especially further into the season. And one thing I saw on Twitter kind of sums it up best. Nikola Jokic was kicking out to Monte Morris in the corners for Jamal Murray or Michael Porter Jr. You should give this man Presidential Medal of Honor, not an MVP award. This is
distribution.
Giving him the MVP is disrespectful to him because he is just that much above the MVP.
God, that's a player. That's a combination. I think I just love to watch is Jokic with Murray. Like a healthy Murray and Jokic is like one of my favorite things to watch in the entire league. God, I hope Jamal Murray gets healthy.
And you have a beat a lot higher than us. What's up with that, Coach?
Mostly from a fantasy perspective. That guy wins championship for his role. I don't want to get too far into it because like. If I get into it, I'm going to expose the others, but I think you can kind of process of elimination. But his metrics.
Number 2 is Kevin Herter, right? I haven't heard his name mentioned yet.
No, it's Malik Monk, of course.
Malik,
All right.
Malik.
Kaminga.
Kaminga.
Yeah, his metrics are above average and everything from efficiency standpoint. He's like top 3 in the league, and I think he's like just a true leader. The whole saga with like Ben Simmons and stuff. He's like, hey, we're gonna go essentially to war with the army we have, and I'm gonna take these 76ers and we're gonna take them far. And I just like their playoff run last few years. You know, I think he has a big to do with that, and I think he's always in that conversation for being MVP of the league. So.
And Nate, you had Curry, right?
Yeah, it's Stephen Curry. I think Stephen Curry. I think we've summed up Stephen Curry from earlier. I mean, greatest shooter of all time. The man was lights out in this final series. This man, and for us being such a strong defensive team, this man at times just absolutely destroyed us and made us look like high school defenders. I mean, the man is the greatest shooter ever. And I mean, I don't know, first ever unanimous MVP. I mean, the man this season, he's not skipping a beat. I just think. And I'm sure statistically, even though I'm more unprepared than y'all are, I'm sure statistics also speak for himself. We talked about that a little bit. So I think he deserved the top 3 spot. I wasn't going to give him 1 or 2, but I definitely think he deserved the top 3 spot.
And I do think for the Curry argument, him being a Finals MVP, that was that last piece he was missing for his career legacy.
Right.
To me, has like bolstered his. If he had not won the championship as a team or won the Finals MVP, I don't know if he would have been in my top 5, but definitely because he did, it took him up a few places. So.
Well, can I pose a question that's been going around a lot recently? Has this done enough for him to propel him in the top 10 all time for you?
I don't know. I would have to look at a list from that and like what you're measuring, but I'm not sure.
I think he can make an argument. I think we can make an argument. I don't think he's in my top 10 yet, but yeah. I think there's definitely a conversation to be had about that, right? Man's a legend already.
Yeah.
It's been a blessing to watch this man play. And him and LeBron James, growing up with him, it's a blessing to watch them.
Growing up with them. In the neighborhood.
Yeah. We've been best friends since
playing ball on the street with Steph Curry and LeBron James and Allen Iverson.
Yeah.
Another guy that's been a blessing to watch play is who I have as number 2.
Okay.
Go off at your boy.
My favorite player of all time.
Luka.
Yeah, it's Luka. It's Ja Morant.
It's Ja Morant. Back to Ja Morant.
No, it's not.
I really had a hard time
okay.
putting him above Trae Young. That was a hard one to do. Ja Morant, Trae Young, and Devin Booker were so hard to rank. Because Trae Young led the entire league in points and assists. That's huge. And Ja Morant's team did so well without him. But you look at his numbers and you're like, that guy's a superstar.
Mm-hmm. Especially in the playoffs.
So it was so hard to rank those 3. Ultimately, maybe a bit of bias took over because I'm not a huge Devin Booker fan, and I put him below Trae Young.
Yeah.
But anyways, back to number 2. I got Kevin Durant. And I'll explain why after you guys go your number 2.
My number 2 is also Kevin Durant.
Ooh, interesting. My number 2 is Giannis.
All right, Nate, you don't have the stats to back our argument up, so I'll take charge here.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And I will tell you that he averaged 37 and 6 in the regular season on 52% shooting, center efficiency. He was more efficient than Joel Embiid, who takes the majority of his shots at the rim, although he's added the mid-range and the three.
Wait, what did he average? 37 points?
30 points.
30 points.
Oh, okay. I think he said 37. Okay. I was like, wait,
That'd be insane that man
check.
averaged 37 points. Oh
He shot 52%
goodness.
from the field.
Yeah.
He shot higher than guys like he shot similarly to Giannis, who shot 55%, who again takes most of his shots closer to the rim. Shot similarly to LeBron James, who takes most of his shots towards the rim. Kevin Durant, on the other hand, I don't have it in front of me, but I'm sure if you looked at the shot chart, majority of his shots are 15 feet and out, maybe 12 feet and out, because he does get into the close mid-range a little bit more than some other guys do. 38% from 3, 91% from the line. And I'm not going to bring up the playoff stats because they would not help my argument very much. He didn't do very well in the postseason. That's no secret. But without him, I mean, if he plays the entire regular season, those postseason stats would have gone way up because they would have been the number 1 seed. And that's not me just saying that. They would literally have been on pace with him. They were 36 and 19. With that winning percentage, they would be on pace for 53 wins if he played the entire season, which ties them with Miami for the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. One player made a 17-game difference, and that's Kevin Durant.
Okay, so.
And he had the most 50-point games this season, which I did not know.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
3 50-point games, which is surprising because he didn't play a whole lot of games. He played 55 games. As if I'm doing my math correctly, 36 and 19 with him.
Yeah, I mean, those are all really good points. I had Durant, I think, in my top 10. This is kind of this tiebreaker conversation between him and Giannis. The big tiebreaker, you're right about those efficiency numbers. I think he was ranked 5 in player efficiency, and he was ranked like 6 in global rankings, really tough. But Giannis was 2nd in player efficiency. His global rankings were a little bit less at like number 6 or number 7, and they qualified him as like first team All NBA. But where do my tiebreakers come in? We talked about defense earlier. Giannis or Durant? Who's a better two-way player? They both put offensive numbers through the roof. I give the nod to Giannis.
Mm-hmm.
Who made it further in the playoffs without Chris Middleton? Giannis. What did Durant do? He gets swept. How are you number 2 in the league? You get swept. I'm not asking you to win the series. I get it. You're dealing with a lot of adversity, but you didn't win a game in a series. Like, sorry, where's the 50-point game then?
I will say this in defense of Kevin Durant. I think we forget a lot
about Steve Kerr.
Well, I hate Steve Nash so much.
Well, Steve Nash you hate, but you forget how good Steve Kerr is.
Right. But I think Kevin Durant, we forget that he is, only 2 seasons removed from tearing his Achilles, and was asked in the limited games he played, because when he came back, Brooklyn fell so far behind without him. He was asked for like the last month and a half, 2 months of the season to be putting 40, 48 minutes on his legs every single night. So when it got to the playoffs, not only was Boston's main goal to shut down Kevin Durant, and did Steve Nash have no idea how to counter that, whether it be playing him at the wing a little bit more or having to move off the ball or whatever. They were adamant to run him the exact same way every single time, even though Boston clearly had a counter for it. But his legs were just dead at that point. I mean, he's 34 years old, 2 years off. He just had a torn Achilles a few years ago. And he had to play like 40, 48 minutes a game just to get Brooklyn into the playoffs. Without him, they were like the 8-9 seed hovering around 500. He willed them into the postseason. I think that took the majority of his energy. By the time he got there, he barely had any legs to stand on. And then Boston made sure they were going to take them completely away from him by doubling, tripling. Let's be honest, fouling him every single time he got the ball. I think I texted
the
you
poor
this
man
after
was
game
suffocated in all
They were
4
playing
games.
football against Kevin Durant. It was incredible. It was crazy. And I think this is going off on a bit of a tangent. Look out for Joe Harris next year. When Brooklyn gets Joe Harris back, that is huge, because they can't defend Kevin Durant nearly the same way when Joe Harris comes back.
Yeah, that could be a thing. But I guess my argument, Giannis versus like Durant, Boston played both of those teams. Was Boston not trying to do the same thing to Giannis? He doesn't have his Robin and Chris Middleton. They're double teaming, triple teaming him, yet his numbers look so much better, and it took him to 7 games.
Dip.
They did dip, but it took him to game 7. You win a game. So.
But then again, you don't have the same argument with the Achilles and the playing 48 minutes a game just to get him into the playoffs. Do you remember that game?
I don't know. That just seems like more victim mindset and excuse oriented. Like, it's the playoffs. If you're one of the best players in the world, anybody can go back. You say Steph Curry going to the playoffs. Okay, you're coming off of an injury, dude. Like, you were out for like 17 games before the playoffs even started. Like, is that a reason for you not to perform now? Because when it's all said and done, I don't know if you take too much stock into those arguments. I don't know.
And then, like I said earlier, with my how a team does when you take that player away. Like I said, they're the number 1 seed. If he plays every single game this season, they're on pace for 53 wins. And I just remember that game against the Knicks. I don't know why that one stands out to me. Or I do know. He scored 50-plus points and he shot. That was like the one time when we used to debate who's the better scorer, James Harden, Kevin Durant. I always said to myself and the others, I promise you, if Kevin Durant took as many shots as James Harden, he would average 40 points per game.
Absolutely.
Oh, no,
and then he had the game against the Knicks where he took the most shots of his career, shot over 50%, and scored 50 points.
Oh, yeah. No, I don't know who was ever making that argument thinking that James Harden was a better
It's when he was
scorer.
I mean,
Durant.
Kevin Durant is easily one of the most unguardable scorers,
Unguardable.
unguardable players.
He's a
Who did
cheat
Kobe
code.
Bryant say in the interview the only player he couldn't figure out how to guard was
Kevin Durant.
Kevin Durant.
Yeah, because with the high.
Kevin Durant's one of the few
shooting
players
and
that we've ever
dribbling.
seen gifted enough to score from anywhere on the court.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Doesn't matter if it's a midi, doesn't matter if it's a layup, doesn't matter if it's a long range 3. My man has a good percentage of making every single shot he takes.
And he
So-
can always create shots without others, which is very special.
That's why I think I have him at 2. As a talent standpoint, that man, like I said, when LeBron starts to fall off, Kevin Durant's going to come right up there and be right up there with him and start. And that was a couple years ago. A lot of analysts were also saying that, but he was right up there with LeBron at this point, and he's still going strong. I mean, 30.7 points per game at 34 years old.
Yeah. And that's what I said. These two are, it's a not necessarily a coin flip, but you have to bring him to the tie break.
Well, you had him at 6th though.
Well, I do have
Because
him
they
above
got
him.
swept. So all these
I
time
mean, I
breaks.
agree with
Luka, fighter, Curry, champion, Embiid, fighter, Durant got swept. And from the Giannis to Durant thing, Giannis made first team all defense. He was in the conversation for defensive player of the year. Durant is not in that conversation.
That
That is a
true.
huge. We talk about Gobert, we talk about Drew Holiday earlier. Like, why do we just negate the other half of the court?
Yeah, that is a good point.
Because of where the NBA is evolving to a more offensive. People prefer to watch
And
offense.
that's even more valuable for legit defenders.
Yeah, that
because
is
if you
true.
can stop great offense, then that should increase your value. That's why some of the good defending players are getting money.
I mean, as you'll see in a minute, I agree with your coin flip.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So let's go into number 1 then. I'll go last because again,
All right, I'll go first. Giannis Antetokounmpo is the best player in the NBA right now.
Good. Excellent. Let me write that down. Thank you. I have Jokic is number 1.
all right. I said this.
This analytical
We
brain.
got all 3 different number
I think
ones.
I said this
Crazy.
before the season started. I said at some point this season or in the postseason, this player would make himself the best player in the NBA, and he would not let go for about a decade. So I'm dribbling down on that take.
Yep.
The best player in the NBA is Luka Doncic. You're circling some red over there.
I'm just like, a lot of red. Luke has a lot of red in this game.
No, he's not going to come at you. He's going to come at me.
What? No, Giannis is 2. He's 1 for you. I mean,
So
I think Joker is actually the biggest. Where'd you guys have him?
I had him. At
Yeah, no,
3.
you're going to. I had him at 6, and y'all got mad at me.
That's because that's wrong.
I
That's it. I
disagree.
mean, he has to be the top 3. What did you? You sold my argument for Joker. What did you say when you said 3?
Higher players efficiency rating of all time.
Thank you.
Leads the league in like every advanced stat that's ever been created.
Thank you. What am I basing off? Like,
I mean, Jokic.
who was he passing into the corner for a trade?
Monte Morris.
Thank you.
Will Barton.
Yeah, and this is where I will say I get into the eye test. Like watching Golden State's playoff run, I really know a lot about the teams that we played against, Boston and Memphis and Denver, and I just looked at those games. And no matter what Golden State was trying to do, he will get his.
Yeah.
He's such a smart player. He's unstoppable, unguardable, full motor the entire time. I was like, wow, he is something special. Because when the MVP conversation, I was like, oh, maybe Embiid, maybe Giannis. After that series, like, yeah, I see why. So,
Yeah, I hate how people tried to use that against him. That they went down in 5 games because it was like they would have gone down.
he won a game.
Yeah, I know. If it was possible to lose in 2 games, if it was possible to lose in a half or a quarter, Golden State would have won that series in like a quarter.
What makes you? Don't make it sound like I'm disrespecting the man. I'm not disrespecting the man. I'm
Six
just.
is pretty
I'm just
low.
saying 6 is not even that low when we're talking about how many players in the NBA. It's not bad. It's not like I put him at 14.
I don't know.
If I put
I don't
Jokic
know.
at like 15, then you have a reason to
I know
come
the
at me.
NBA is probably feeling a little stupid right now because Jokic, especially with 2 MVPs, he's got to be a top 75 player of all time.
Yeah.
He was the only MVP other than Derrick Rose left off the 75 list, and now he's got 2 of them for it.
What about Klay Thompson?
That is true. Number 76. Well, actually, he wasn't even a top 76 player because they had that little tie.
It's funny you mentioned that. Number 1's tied. It's Giannis and Klay Thompson for me.
I was gonna go off of your Warriors thing, use that as a segue to talk about Luka Doncic because one of the things, again, looking at what is a team like if you take that player off the team? Draymond Green, sort of. He had a quote. I'm gonna bring him out right real quick.
Draymond, come on out.
Yeah.
He's doing his podcast.
So Draymond, yeah. I was gonna say competes with us, but no podcast competes with the Baymates.
Mm-mm.
Exactly.
So Draymond does not like to give a lot of players compliments unless it's himself or Steph Curry or Klay Thompson.
Yeah.
Or
Or
LeBron,
John.
who apparently he has a very big man crush now.
Yes, he
Now
does.
all
A
of a sudden.
huge.
But either way, Draymond said this about Luka Doncic that I thought really put into perspective how good of a player he is. He said in his live podcast with JJ Redick, they were talking about teams in the Western Conference. Well, is Memphis a big threat to Golden State going forward? Memphis is good, but not really. I think he was saying, is a team a threat or are they a problem? He's like, they're a threat, but they're not a problem.
Okay.
Are the Clippers a threat? The Clippers are a threat, but they're not a problem. Are the Mavericks a threat? The Mavericks are a threat and a problem. And he said this because they have Luka Doncic.
Mm.
When is the last time, besides prime LeBron James in Cleveland, and I love Kevin Durant. I don't even think there's ever been a time you could say that about Kevin Durant. But you could say if you have him on a team, I don't care who you put him around, they could compete for a championship. And I think Luka, at this early stage of his career, according to me, and apparently according to Draymond Green, is already at that stage where it's like, I don't care what other 4 players you put on the court with him. The dude is legit. The numbers, 28, 9, and 9, don't do him justice, because if you look after February, of course, he takes a while to get into shape.
Of course, as it plays away into shape.
32, 9, and 9, 47% from the field. I know this is wrong, and I forgot the other number because I wrote he shot 4% from 3. I think it's somewhere around 43, 44. At least it's in the 40s, which is above average, above average in the NBA. 77% from the line. And like you mentioned, free throws are one of his biggest defects or deficiencies. And then in the playoffs, he carried that over with 32, 10, and 6, 45%, 35%, 77% shooting splits. Everybody acting tough when they up. And Luka Doncic he just served Devin Booker the Luka special. I
know that was a huge
he's incredible. And if you take him off the Mavericks team, they're nothing. They're nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So there's my argument as to why Luka's the best player in the NBA.
I mean, I respect it. I just personally, when it comes to Luka, I think he's definitely on his way. I just don't think right now I can get number 1.
I think so too.
I think Z will agree with me. It's just give it time. He'll be number 1 at some point. There's no doubt about it. This is the same man that called NBA competition easy. It's easier to score in the NBA than in the EuroLeague, which I've watched a couple of EuroLeague games. Like I kind of those guys are monsters. so I get it. Man's been playing them since he was like 16. So
and they
got the confidence.
How do you feel about your 6th best player, Nikola Jokic, beating Giannis in the Serbia-Greece game the other day?
Oh, wow.
You see that Jokic fadeaway in the corner? That was crazy. So I guess you don't really have much to say about Giannis being number 1. That's not really an argument you have to defend there. So I think
I should bring in Stretch. He'll help me defend it. But I mean, I don't know what else to say. That Giannis is one of the most dominant players outside of Shaq we've ever seen in this entire league, and he will be for the next 3 to 5 years.
And the stats back it.
And the stats back it. He's incredibly efficient. I mean, and just to see where he's come from, man's dedication hard too. Man's packed on 50 pounds of muscle. Man's become a terror on both sides of the ball. Man in a couple strides can get from one end of the court to the other. Man's enormous wingspan, and he's also really funny too. That's everything I want out of a number 1 player in the league.
And he's willing to play for Chicago.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah, sometime down the line. Never gonna count it out.
Yeah. I think I wouldn't say this before, but like when they looked at all those advanced metrics, who they said were the top 5 most valuable players, it was Luka, Giannis, Joker, Embiid, and then Trae Young. Surprisingly, would have been their first team All NBA. So it's no coincidence that those names.
Yeah. What did you have him on your list?
16.
You know who's really down there though is Booker.
Yeah.
So that's when you had your Booker, John Morant, and Trae Young in my mind. I was like, yeah, your order's right. Because like even though Booker does have these flashy stats, it shoots 22 times a game.
Right.
And you have a lot of other stars on that
team.
team.
And he couldn't get there without Chris Paul.
Chris Paul, exactly. And I think.
But then the question becomes, if he couldn't get there without Chris Paul, why do you have Chris Paul below Devin Booker on your ranking, Matthew?
Because his numbers are just. I know. First of all, Chris Paul has never won anything in his career. Yeah. Like, and then it seems like whenever the moment is big as it is an injury or he just.
Some guys are just unfortunate.
Or he just turns, what did he turn, 37 years old?
I know. But he is a regular season champion. What he did with OKC, what he did with Phoenix, like these number 1 seeds, and taking lottery teams that want to get all these good picks into the playoffs. And,
speaking of lottery picks, the Thunder getting Victor Wembanyama next year? That shits out all year?
God, that's probably one of the saddest pieces of news I've read in this summer was Chet Holmgren going down. I definitely think that this kid could be something. I'm not super on him, but I want to see him play.
I know.
At the end of the day, I want to see what he'd be like a real NBA competition.
A little bit.
A little bit. I think he's probably closer to Porzingis.
I still can't figure out, honestly. Because Kevin Durant, I don't know what exactly it is, other than him just being more skilled, I guess. But as far as body type goes, how has he been able to separate himself from Porzingis, from Chet Holmgren?
He's more athletic than Porzingis.
But these guys that are 7 feet tall, super skinny, literally every single one of them in the rest of NBA history has succumbed to injury at some point in their career. And he had the freak Achilles tear.
Yeah.
But otherwise, the longevity for someone that height and that build is unparalleled.
But he's also, you're right, but I think his game really leads itself to injury prevention. He used to slash a lot.
Just got run into by LeBron. Tore a ligament in his foot. Like that's
the
nothing
France
game
injury,
style,
which
but-
is like a really big injury too. It's
Right.
going to take a long time. But I think Durant, he's a shooter. He's a shooter. So the longevity of shooters, if you, even you're 7 foot, is usually longer than someone that's a slasher that goes to the rim and relies on athleticism. So
Right.
I mean, he didn't escape it completely, but
For the most part, he's been very healthy his career.
oh yeah.
And now that we've gotten our 25 through 1, we're going to call it there. I hope you guys enjoyed our third installment of top 25 players in the NBA.
Definitely did not disappoint.
Make sure you
Lots of
comment
things to talk about.
and tell us who had the best list, why Nathan had the worst list. Um,
For one player that y'all didn't even mention when we were talking earlier, but okay.
So yeah,
But Jokic.
I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let us know who has the best. Let us know who has the worst. Make sure to like, share, and comment. And we'll see you guys next time on the Debate Mates.
Bye, guys.